tonight's guitar workshop. We've currently got a load shedding, so the internet is down, but I have a nice solar system on the roof, so I thought I'd make this follow-up video on my Silversky. And I've been watching a lot of videos. In fact, if you look at my YouTube history, it's just Silversky versus Silversky, Silversky, Silversky. It's just all about the Silversky. I just wanted to see what everybody else has got to say. In fact, I bought this guitar based on my own review, which I'll link to in the description below. Because after I reviewed it, I thought, no, I just got to have this guitar. I've had many Strats before, but I couldn't quite gel with them for some reason. And when I played this, there was just something about it that I really liked. I liked the tone. And to be quite honest, since I bought this, I haven't played my beautiful Les Paul guitar, barely in the gigs that I've been doing. I've done about 8 gigs with this now, and I've sorted my sounds out. That took 2 or 3 gigs just to fine tune them, and I've actually shared them on the relevant groups. So, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things, because now that it's my guitar, I can say whatever I want. Not that I want to slate the guitar or anything, because it's very good. It's very, very good. So some of the guys on the internet were directly comparing the core model to this, to see what is the difference. And some of them got confused and thought they were playing the core model when in fact they were playing the SE, and vice versa. And some of them suggested that they wanted to put the neck of the core onto the SE, but I didn't quite see the point of that, because the only thing you're going to gain is the radius change, besides the finish on the back. And let me get to that quickly. When I bought the guitar, and even in my very first review, I commented that the finish on the SE was, or something was coming off in my hands, even for the 2 or 3 days that I had it. And that proved to be exactly the point after I played it for a few gigs. And at the gigs, I found that I constantly had these little bits of stuff in between the neck and my hand. And when I got home, I had a good look, and I noticed that the finish was actually coming off. So I don't know what they put on there. Obviously a very, very, very thin layer of who knows. But yeah, the color was coming off. So I thought the only way to fix that is to put some clear lacquer on. And I don't know if it's going to come through on the video. I might cut to a closer picture, but I put clear lacquer on the whole guitar, front and back. And of course I have fitted the obligatory self-made truss rod cover, so that's a must. You've got to have one of those, otherwise the guitar won't work. So I just made it out of some aluminium I had lying around. And there will be a lot of comments. I can see now already that the matte finish is the way to go. But I don't know if it's my sweat glands or whatever, but it was coming off in my hands, and I didn't like where it was heading, because I thought that was only after 2 weeks that I noticed already that the finish with the original color was coming off. So the only way to sort that out is to seal it. So I sealed it, and if I want to, I can obviously always Scotch-Brite the back here to make it satin again. But having said that, I actually absolutely love the way, when I pick the guitar up from the stand or when I handle it, it just feels so premium now with this clear on the back, because all my other guitars have got clear. And just looking behind me there, you'd think I'm a PRS fanboy, but no, not really. Those are here for a review, which I'm going to get to in the next video. And this now feels like just one of those. Just feels it feels complete somehow, for me personally. I like the gloss finish, and I didn't use nitro and I didn't use 2K, I used an acrylic clear lacquer, and it doesn't get sticky. It doesn't, when I sweat or it gets warm, it's not like my hand gets stuck on here. It just feels, it feels like the body now. It feels exactly the same. I don't know what finish they used on here, but when I touch this and that, I don't get that feeling that it's a cheap, because I did get that initially when I had a guitar for a while. I thought, the only thing that's letting this guitar down for me personally is the cheap feeling finish that's on the back of this. And getting back to the other video where the guys wanted to swap the core neck onto the SE, I think they wanted to just hear the SE pickups and feel the core neck. Because the radius 7 3/4 and 8 1/2 is hardly going to notice that. So I reckon that's what they wanted to try. So basically that's what I've done by clear coating this. So I know this won't be for everybody because some people like the finish that's on the SE, but I personally, I just couldn't get on with it. And even at the bottom here, this whole section here, the color has almost completely vanished. And I don't know if it's going to come through because I've got some bright lights on there today. But I'll cut to a close-up of that. So that's just that. So the only thing that I've done is I've floated the trem by taking out 2 springs at the back and adjusting the tension. I lowered the action hardly anything. And it's got a very nice feel. So yeah, no, that's what I've done. For the rest, I've done nothing. There's nothing to do, basically. I just floated the trem. So what makes this guitar sound different to the core? And I'm going to get to why I'm talking about that in a second. The core and some higher-end fenders are made out of elder, and the more affordable ranges like Squires and some Epiphones are made out of poplar. The elder is, from what I can read, is slightly denser. So I don't know if that is going to translate through the pickups, because the pickups are obviously connected to the scratch plate, not directly bolted to the body. So I don't know if that's going to make any difference whatsoever. I don't see a difference or a problem with having those 2 woods. I think the wood that they use for the SE is more sustainable. So that's probably what that's all about. The neck is exactly the same as the core. So that's a maple neck with a rosewood board. Obviously the radius is a little bit different, 7 1/4 compared to 8 1/2. And I think they went with 8 1/2 just to make it a little bit easier to not fret out when you're bending. But not that the core frets out, because I watched a lot of videos and nobody's complaining about that. But that obviously depends how high your action is, I like mine quite low. And when I say low, I'm talking about 1.2 millimeters between the top of the 12th fret and the bottom of the E string here. So I set them at 1.2 millimeters. Whatever that relates to in inches, I have no idea. So let's talk about the pickups, because the videos that I've watched, I can hear a difference between the core and this. The core seems brighter, whereas this seems a bit more mellow. Now they say that these pickups are modeled on the core version. However, these SE pickups have got extra pole pieces in between the actual pole pieces. I'll cut to a picture, whereas the Core doesn't have that. So I'm not sure if they're talking about the winding and the wire gauge that they used, because the output of these is all the same. They're all measuring exactly the same. So the only way to really test to see what the difference is, I reckon, is not to play the two guitars, because the body could make a difference. I don't know, because the pickups aren't bolted to the body. So I'm thinking, if someone has both of them and they would just swap this scratch plate out from the Core to the SE and then do a tone test, then you'd really hear what the difference, if any, is. Because playing two guitars back to back, they can be identical, but they might still sound slightly different. So who knows? I don't know if somebody will do that. I don't have a Core here, so I can't test that. But from the videos that I've watched, I would say 80% of the people that did these back-to-back tests preferred the sound of the SE. It was a bit more mellow. It wasn't quite as, we'll call it, sharp, bright as the Core. The other difference to the Core model, and I'm not sure really what that's all about. I can't seem to find a definitive answer, is that the trem has got 6 screws on the Core and 2 on the SE. And I noticed that the new Fiore, which is out, has also got two bolts. So the 2-bolt trem is much easier to adjust, because to adjust the height of the 6-bolt trem, you have to loosen the strings, because and then you can adjust the screws to, if you wanted to raise the pickup to give you more tilt. But on this guitar, I just do it while it's tuned. If I decide I want it just a bit lower, I just turn it and it's done. So to me, it's easier to adjust this, and I think, personally, this is a better option. Because the USA Strats, the newer ones, they also went to a 2-post trem. So there must be a reason behind that. I prefer the 2-bolt trem. I think it just looks nicer, looks a bit more modern. So yeah. So as I say, the Fiore also comes out with a 2-point. I think it's probably exactly the same trem as this. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to talk about the nut quickly. This is a synthetic bone nut, and initially in my review I thought it was a plastic. But I actually took it off the other day, because now that it's mine, I can strip the thing to my heart's content. When you drop it on a hard surface like a kitchen counter, a marble kitchen counter, you just drop it. It's got a very high-pitched ping to it. It's like bling-a-ling-a-ling when it drops. So it's definitely a very hard material. And as I mentioned in my initial review, there's absolutely no need to change this at all. Putting a bone on here is going to give you no benefit. It's just going to cost you money. So that's good to go. I did have to clean the slots up slightly, because I had a little bit of a sitar sound coming from here, and I found that the angle that the high E was cut at was just not quite enough. So I just changed the angle slightly, and then the string was fine. I also had a little issue on the high E saddle. There was a little groove from the string inside there. And the others didn't have that, so I just took some 600 paper, polished that up, and then that sorted that out. It was a minor, absolute minor issue. Frets, beautiful, very nice, smooth, no grittiness. So that's very nice. I did have one high fret, somewhere over here. And when I say high, I used my little fret rocker, and I could just hear a little tick, 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 very mild. So I just sorted that out. But if the action is at the normal height where it should be, that wouldn't have been an issue. I think it's just because my action is pretty low that came to the fore. Moving on to the tuners. Also a bit of a contentious issue or discussion is the material that these tuning pegs are made of. They're just some kind of a molded plastic. And I find that the tuner tension between all six is not even. And even on the review model that I had, they're also not even. So as you're tuning it, this E is very stiff, this is looser, these four feel about the same. And this is pretty loose and this is pretty tight. And I did have a good look, but because they're sealed at the back, I didn't want to try and open them to see if there's too much grease packed in them or whatever, so I've just left them. Because I had a quick look at that semi-hollow over there, and I took it out of the box because I'm still going to review that. And the tuners that are on there are like absolute butter. You've just blown them and they're basically tuned. How that's going to stay in tune, that's another question, but I'll get to that in the review. So my question is, if they can make nice tuners like that for that guitar, why couldn't they spend a bit of time and just give us some tuners that are even? Because I just find them a bit inconsistent. Look, it holds tune, it's not a problem. It holds tune, that's not the problem. And I don't think upgrading this to locking tuners is going to benefit you at all, because the back of the tuners are exactly the same, in my opinion. So, getting back to the core versus this, in fact, I wanted to just say that, to me, for me personally, the SE range is the everyman's guitar. So, probably most musicians that are gigging would be able to afford an SE. Those two are both SEs. That hollow one is one of the most expensive SEs out there, and it's touching the price of a core model, in fact. Especially the one with the piezo, that's, to me, is very expensive compared to the one that's next to it. But anyway, we'll get to that in the next video. So for me, the core models, they are absolutely stunning. I mean, I do love the deep carves that they've got, and the woods, and the materials that they use. But I don't think that many people, unless you're a sponsored musician, you've got a record deal, you've got sponsors behind you, that you can afford one of those, you know. So to me, the SE range is the everyman's guitar. It sits perfectly. PRS has got so many models that there's definitely something for everybody in there. Whether you're going to look at an Epiphone or a Fender Squire, classic vibe, is a nice guitar. The Fender Player series is the lower end of the Fender Strats. And that's basically where this is aimed at, this particular guitar here. It's aimed at the Fender Player series. And in my head, this is the better option. And I'll tell you why. The pickups on here, that are on here, just the pickups alone. Let's say you've got this the player series and this next to each other, and everything else aside, forget about the shape of the headstock. Just plugging it in and playing it into my ear, this guitar sounds better, straight off the shelf than the player series. There's nothing stopping you to buy a player series if you like the Fender shape and putting some nice pickups in. But this guitar comes already with nice pickups. That to me is the deciding factor. I'm not a brand loyal anything. Even my motorbikes, cars, whatever I buy. I'm not saying, oh, that's a Yamaha, I need to have a Yamaha. I've had all the bikes, many different brands of cars. Whatever suits me on that day is what I buy. It doesn't matter to me what badge is on it. The fact that it says PRS in it is a bonus, you know? But that also makes it more expensive, I reckon. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for joining. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. It was just a quick update on my Silversky, which I absolutely love. I'm playing this, as I say, I play this more than I hardly play my other guitar anymore, which is stunning, by the way. But this just fits into everything so nicely that I don't feel the need to change. It's got a nice quack. Nice rhythm sound. So yeah, thanks guys, thanks for joining. Catch me on my review of one of those two guitars, or check some other videos below in the playlist. And keep on rocking guys, and we'll see you next time.